Well, viewers, thank you for staying tuned. I hope you're enjoying this program and the wonderful dynamic sense that beautiful Teresa is bringing to the show, because she's bringing us the food of the people. Now, of course, for the next recipe, she's going to be joined by her Teresa Jannetta, who we welcome back to the show, and she's going to show us the art of making arrancini. Arrancini meaning, I guess, little oranges, because they're golden and they're fried and they're just divine. So let's go see how they make this great little arancini.
Ciao a tutti. Hi everyone. I'm here with my comadre Teresa.
Ciao Jannetta.
Ciao comadre. And who makes the best arancini, besides my mother's of course, in Melbourne. Arancini means in Italian little oranges, and it comes from the word arancia, which is orange, and an arancione, which means orange, the colour. But if you add an ino or an in the end, it means little oranges. Now, comadre, do you say arancini or arancina? Because there's a bit of a debate whether it's masculine or feminine.
Well, I'll have to go for the masculine.
So
Arancini.
Arancini. Well, in Italian, it's more commonly used as arancina because it's a feminine using the fruit. But because it's Sicilian and we say arancio, we're going to go for the masculine today. So we're going to call them arancini siciliani, okay?
Brava.
Now, tell me, comadre, what's the first step in making the arancini?
Well, the first step, we need to make our ragu, which is a day before. We begin with roughly chopping onions, garlic, carrot, celery. Then we get a pan, put some olive oil. Then you add your onions, garlics, the carrot and the celery. Let that cook for a few minutes. Then I add fresh oregano, a chilli, pepperoncino, just to give it that little bite. Bit of spice. And then you need some coarse mince, beef mince.
And which sort of mince do you get?
Well, you go to your local butcher and get a piece of shoulder, get him to give you a piece of shoulder and ask him to mince it only once. So just tell him that you want it coarse. Because in the process of cooking the sauce for 3 to 4 hours, if you use a fine mince, it just
dissolves.
Disintegrate. Well, dissolves, that's a better word. And so then I add the mince, brown that, and then the next step is the peeled tomatoes, which I've pureed. Add that to the mince and some fresh basil. Salt to taste, and then let that cook. Bring it to a boil and simmer for 3 to 4 hours.
So it's similar to a bolognese sauce?
Yeah, like a bolognese. But, you know, well, I always cook my bolognese for 3 to 4 hours as well. So then after it's been cooked, when it's, like if you've started with this much in the pan, in the pot, just go halfway, so it's really thick. Then it needs to cool down a little and then put it into the fridge. So the next day, the next process is...
So you leave it overnight?
Yeah, I leave it overnight because then it comes nice and thick and it has to be cold when we do the arancini with the rice. So the next day, we get all ready to make arancini, and we need an onion, a borio rice, which
has to be arborio?
Has to be arborio. Well, in my recipe it does. Also we need vegetable stock.
And do you make the stock?
Yes. And sometimes when you haven't got time to make stock, it doesn't matter. But just a stock, a vegetable stock, just get a celery stick, onion, carrot, a bay leaf, some garlic. I always put garlic. Water, and cook it for a couple of hours. Salt, pepper to taste. And always have the stock. It has to be hot. So if you buy in the supermarket, you can find a lot of bought stocks, vegetable stock. Always use vegetable stock. I know there's arancinis that they use chicken or beef, but I just think I've already got the beef, so I just use a vegetable stock.
Okay.
And then parmigiano and saffron.
Saffron?
Yes.
Now, saffron's a bit expensive, though.
Yeah, well, we just use a little bit.
Now, comadre, did you know that it was the Arabs that brought this dish to Sicily? And because they're big saffron and rice lovers, but it was the king of Sicily, Federico II, that turned them into the shape that we know them as now as arancini, because he loved them so much, but he wanted to take them away on his trips and when he went hunting and so forth. So the golden breadcrumb was invented so they could be easily transported. Interesting little piece of
Interesting.
information. So what's the next step?
Okay, so we begin to make, it's like a form of a risotto. So we get your pan, olive oil. When it's hot, add your onion and just roughly dice it or, roughly chop. And just let that just, not brown, don't brown it, just to soften. Then you add, the recipe that I'm going to give you today is 1 kilo of arborio rice and 2 litres of hot vegetable stock. Right? So we first do the onion, soften, then we incorporate the kilo of rice, of the arborio rice, of course, and just toss it around so it coats, the oil and the onion coat the rice. Then we add our hot stock, stir, and just wait till it boils, then simmer. So maybe 15 minutes, but it has to be al dente.
Al dente, of course, meaning to the tooth, with the word dente, dentist. So when you bite it, you can still sort of feel it. It's a little bit hard in the centre, yeah?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
So when we have all the stock has evaporated, we add a little, just before the end, we add a little bit of saffron, a few threads, just a few, and then we add parmigiano.
What sort of parmigiano?
Grano.
Grana Padano, okay, because it's aged, 18 months or so, yes.
And then when that's all been incorporated, we put this onto a bench to cool down. We let it cool for about 10 minutes, so vai fare un caffè, come back to it when it's a little just warm, and we start to make our arancini balls.
Now tell me, do you make the arancini into balls or cones? Because in certain parts of Sicily, mainly the eastern parts and the Aeolian Islands where I'm from, they make them into a cone shape. So what do you...
I'm doing cone shape
cones,
today.
okay.
Okay, so we begin with the rice. We start from the edge, so it's not in the middle, it'll be very hot. And we put it in a hand, we cup it, get a bit of the ragu that we've made, which is cold and it's thick. Put that into the centre, then add 2 or 3 pieces of provolone cheese.
Now traditionally it's with mozzarella. How come you've chosen provolone?
Because I've tried with the mozzarella, but it has no to me, it doesn't have enough flavour.
Right.
In Sicily, of course, the flavours are different. But so I decided to use provolone piccante because it's just got that little bit of bite, just like the peperoncino in the ragu. I like to just spice up my dishes. So I just put that in, put another, just cup it, and you just slowly form the arancini.
Okay.
Then there's another process.
Right.
And the next process, what you do is you just put them on a plate with greaseproof paper so they don't stick. Put them in the fridge to cool down for about 15 minutes. And while they're cooling, you make a pastella. And the pastella is water you can mix water and milk with a bit of parmigiano, salt, cracked pepper, mix it with a whisk. So it's a very thin
batter. Or paste.
Yeah. So then we get our arancini, we coat them with this pastella, and then we put them in the breadcrumbs. Right. And then we deep fry them.
Okay. So you've mentioned the ingredients is the ragu, and there's peas.
Yes, there's peas.
Traditionally, in the Sicilian ones.
Oh, and these ones there are peas, but I think I may have forgotten. Baby peas, always remember baby peas. So you can just add them, after you've put the tomato that you've pureed, just add the peas and then voila.
Okay, so
Buonissimo.
ragu, piselli, peas and the provolone this time. But there are variations, and it depends, of course, on whereabouts in Sicily that you're from.
Yes.
So there's the arancini al burro, which is with the butter, the mozzarella and bechamel.
Bechamel and ham.
Yeah.
I've done them with ham and bechamel. Yeah.
And then you can have the agli spinaci with the spinach inside, alla norma, with the eggplant, if you're from Catania. And there's a place called Bronte, which is famous for the pistachio, and you can make them with pistachio as well. So we're going with the traditional ones today.
But while you're deep frying, there's always someone who comes around and then I think, now, weren't there 6 on that plate?